Welcome to Inspiration Radio, Growth Principles for Humanity and Progress. Join us when we share information, wisdom, and ideas how to create an extraordinary future for us all. The future is open. We together decide what will be in it. Welcome to another episode of Inspiration Radio, bringing you growth principles for humanity and progress. And today it's really about wonderful growth principles, because I'm so happy and feel blessed having Bob Proctor here as a guest, and we will talk about a lot of principles. Brian just published a book, and unique by the name. He is the son of Bob Proctor, and is now one of the very, very few people on planet Earth who had the privilege to live with him, work with him decades, and really dive into, and got more than just, let's say, the normal stage Bob, because I know when talking private him, he had so much more wisdom than he just could share on the book. And Brian wrote a book. His father knew the secret, but it's not only his father, but Brian knows it all. And thank you for being here today. Very welcome. And it's a pleasure now talking about some principles. I know you worked with him a lot, in long years. You were part of creating the business. You invented email marketing with him, and you did all the affiliate programs, and so you were very close and organized that his message could go around the world. So even if we were a lot behind the scenes often, but we were a really big part of making all happen, what we could experience in the last, let's say, 10 years, what Bob brought to the world. So thank you again, and welcome. And if you like to share something, if I missed out or want to say something, otherwise I start with questions. But first.
Well, yeah, you know what? Thank you, Wolfgang. I appreciate you having me on here. It's, it's wonderful to share the message of who my father was. That was the whole point of writing this book. This book was, not really about me. It was really about my father, and it's about all of the things I learned growing up growing up with him, for the man that, I guess everybody knows him as Bob Proctor on the stage, but I think this book really reveals who he was off the stage. So it was kind of a fun thing to write, and I appreciate you having me on here.
Yes, and I just shared to you before we recorded that I didn't read the book, because now I'm here from South Africa, and it's not so easy to get a book here. So I downloaded the Audible, and it was really touching. Listen to it, and you spoke it. I really can recommend. I will read it when I have it again, because I like also to mark in something that is tougher on my computer screen. But it is really wonderful to listen, and I really say it was touching as well. But as you said, it's about Bob, yeah. But I feel also it's about you, because you couldn't write it, or you couldn't have these words and the energy and the feeling if it was not you as well.
Right.
And,
wow. Thank you.
And I say you with this book also, you carry the torch forward with all the principles, and you have just the forward also from Mr. Price Pritchard, who wrote the little booklet, U Square, and Bob used it a lot. There is a word in how to make miracle happen. And I think that is in the time we're in now, a lot of people hoping for miracles, but maybe just more from the victim side. It should come from the outside. And the message, Bob, and you bringing across is, and with lessons, we can do it. We can do ourselves so much more. And if you please maybe change something also of your personal process. I guess as a kid, the father is okay, there is maybe a nice father, and I love to be with him. But when did you start to get the real ahas about what he was teaching? Or was that for you?
Well, you know what, Wolfgang, it's kind of interesting. Everybody's often asks me that, and as you heard in the book, that was the number one question I've gotten all my life is, what was it like having Bob Proctor as a father? And he really was he was my father. So to me, he was just dad. I did not realize what a big deal he was until later in life. I really didn't. When I was young, he would take me on the road with him, which was always kind of fun. I got to see what he did. So it was all very normal for me. That's just how I grew up. I can remember I was so young that I would be sitting in a seminar, and after there were evening seminars, after the first break, I'd crawl underneath a table and go to sleep. I mean, that's how little I was. So I've always been surrounded by this. And it wasn't until I really, I guess, started to work with him that I realized really kind of what a big deal he was, and what he was teaching the world, and what, the message that he had to share. And it was a real privilege to get to work with him. I got to work with him for well over 30 years. And, as you say, I was kind of behind the scenes. I really took care of a lot of the marketing and that aspect, which was great because I was able to help get my father out there in a bigger way. And, I just really resonated with what he taught. I mean, I grew up with those values. I grew up with him teaching that at home in his own way. And so it was fun to do this project. It really was.
Yeah, when you said realizing what a big deal he was, he was a really big and great in his message and understanding all the messages and what he was teaching. Well, a huge amount of wisdom, but being a bit, let's say, the big deal, or maybe it's a language thing you're part of, that you made him the big deal, that he could really, it went around the globe. Yeah.
Well,
So
thank you. I like to think that. I like to hope that I made a difference, and I know I did. I certainly started some things back at a time, like email list building and sending out valuable information. I started doing that before it was ever a thing. So, I certainly set him up to be able to reach more people. But, that being said, Wolfgang, I'm not even sure if my father knew how big of a deal he was.
yeah.
He was so intent on teaching the material because he knew what he had to teach could change lives.
Right.
But it wasn't until after he passed away. I'm sure you saw the online memorial that we did for him. We had hundreds of thousands of people on that, and the responses, the comments, honestly, it was heart touching. Reading what people had to say, how he touched their lives all around the world, really made me aware of the reach that he had and how he touched people everywhere. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah. It's really, and luckily we had the modern technology. So I remember he did a seminar and had live streaming in 190 countries. So nearly every country on planet Earth was someone listening to him. That is really a big deal. And like you said, my experience him also, more than 20 years. And when we were together also, it's just what a humble person also. Yeah. So really, really, like you said, he never put his ego out or so here, I'm a big deal.
Right.
And I learned a lot from him, a lot of things. I'm very grateful. It for sure changed also my life. And then
I for the listeners that are either watching or listening to this, here's something really wonderful is my father really liked you, Wolfgang. He really appreciated who you were, and he loved when you were around. I mean, I remember you coming to several of the events, and you got to have a lot of one-on-one time with my father that most people didn't. And like you say, it wasn't about ego. He was really, he was intent on teaching the material, and he really enjoyed doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was so grateful and supporting me when I had an Inspiration event in Zurich, an Inspiration event in close to Vienna. He just flew in to support the day. And it is really a big effort just to be there for a day, paying as a trip, not charging everything, just to support a message. It was really incredible. Thank you for saying that. Even if I didn't understand what he thought, why I'm for him in this way so special, but the one thing he just says, okay, you understand what I'm teaching, and that was really also in our, let's say, one-to-one sessions, we could really talk about it, and that's why we also here together, because even Bob reached a lot of people. 8 billion people on planet Earth. There are some billions who never heard about it and don't understand it. And hearing what he said and understanding is a totally different thing.
That's right.
When did you hear the first time the stick person, and then really, now I get it? For me, it took years.
Yeah, it probably took me a while too. I certainly remember him teaching it when I was probably a teen, I guess, probably early teenager when he first got onto that particular, the stick figure and the concept of it. It was probably in school, when I was in high school, that it really started to hit me what it was about and how to use that to work ideas into my mind, to build a self-image of what I wanted to be. It didn't come right away for sure, but it did come with time. I mean, he was all about repetition. He would teach the same thing over and over and over. And every time you heard it, you'd hear something different because, we were in a different place. Or I was at a different place in my life. And that was I think the kind of the magic of what he did. He really taught simple concepts, and he found a way to teach it simply so that everybody could understand it and apply it.
Yes.
And really taught us how to live a better life.
Yeah. And like you wrote in the book also, he made his presentation by himself. So it's really also so simple, explaining things. And that's why he always loved also to do it himself, that it was really aligned with the way he was then giving his speech.
That's right. Yeah. Very important to him.
Yeah. But we want to talk also about growth principles. And in your book, you have also really lessons and consider this. Your wife is talking there also about, and there's really lessons to learn and to apply. What is for you the number one lesson, what you picked out of his teaching or your personal experience?
That's a great question. So it would, my number one lesson, it would probably vary from time to time of what that would be. Okay. But if I can share a story, I'll share probably one of the most valuable lessons that I learned from him. I was in my 20s and I got into real estate. I became a real estate agent or a salesperson in Toronto, Canada. I was 26 years old. My first year in the business, I made it into the top 100 internationally for a very large real estate firm, right out of nowhere. And everybody was like amazed. And it was really because of the principles I learned from my father. Well, I was at a seminar down in Palm Springs or Palm Desert by Palm Springs. And a fellow by the name of Mike Ferry was putting on the seminar for real estate agents. There was about 2,000 people in the room, and I was sitting right at the front of the room. Well, Mike had heard about me, and I was still in my first year of business, and he asked me up on the stage. And he asked me, he says, "Why are you such a success in real estate so quickly at such a young age?" And I stood there, and it took me back to when I was 9 years old. And this is the lesson that I learned from my father. We had just moved to Chicago, and I was about to attend grade 4. Well, to give a bit of a backstory on that, I was born in Toronto, so I started school in Toronto. We then moved to London, England. I started a new school there. We moved back to a different area of Toronto. So I started another school there. Then we moved to Chicago. So by the fourth grade, I'm in my fourth school already. And I hated being that new kid in school. And I was forever that new kid in school. And I can remember sitting with Dad in the den in this house in Chicago and telling him that. I said to him, I said, Dad, I hate being that new kid. And he gave me this lesson that has changed my life. He said to me, he says, Brian, everybody you that is in front of you, you just need to put these 4 letters across their forehead, MMFI. And what that stands for is make me feel important. He said, if you can make everybody you're speaking with feel important, feel seen, feel heard, you're going to get along great in this world. He said, he liked to call it the impression of increase. And that is, if you can leave everybody that comes in contact with you today feeling better because they were in contact with you, then you've done your job. And that's what I started to do. He said, it's not about trying to impress somebody or anything of that nature. It's about learning about somebody else and being interested in them, not worried about what you're going to say next, but be sincerely interested in that person. You can always find something to compliment them on or ask them, anything. It's people just love to know if they're interested in you. And I started to do that. Well, so I learned it at a pretty young age, obviously, and I had done that forever since. Well, because of that, people wanted to do business with me. So when I got into real estate and I made everybody feel really important, feel special, feel seen, feel heard, they wanted to do business with me. And they started referring people to me. And that's really, if I was to say anything, that's one of the best lessons I ever learned from him. It's to take the focus off of us and put it on the person we're speaking to and make them feel special, make them feel important. And when somebody tells you a story, even if you've done it, you don't want to tell them, oh, I did that too, and one up them, because then what you're doing is you're actually taking away their story. You're diminishing the value of whatever they're saying, and just let them be. That's probably one of the best things I ever learned, Wolfgang. And I find that I try to do that as often as I can. But the best part is now I see my kids doing it, and I see them leaving everybody with the impression of increase. And I just think it's a great way to live. I think it is a beautiful way to be present and to engage with people that are in front of you. That's a valuable lesson that I think a lot of people in this world really, really need.
Yes, just what you say, the last sentence, which I just want to add. Yeah, it works in business, but
Yes.
like the world needs it. Because when we see now, if it's Gaza, Israel, Ukraine, or whatever, or just the streets in America or Germany, London, we are so much in a fighting mood,
Right.
in a win-lose mood, lose-win mood, or whatever, and not really seen. And that's, and the Japanese have also the impression that we need to protect the face. It's about not losing your face and everything. So we can really help seen all these namaste. It's also, yes, I see you. And that's what we're all missing in the society at the moment. We are numbers for the government or whatever. Nobody sees the individual yet. Wow, it's okay. I was close to pick gratitude. Number one, and today was your blog or your email about gratitude.
Yes.
Because I learned a lot about this from Bob. But to be seen, I think, is the most, really goes so deep, because all the traumatic kids or even public politicians we have is just, if they could hug each other or like you said, and just think, wow, that would make a lot of difference. Yes.
I really do think that. I think if we can start focusing on the good of everybody in front of us rather than the bad, and start that energy, it will change things. And, can we go and change the whole world right now? Probably not. Not to say that we can't, but we can start to change everybody that comes in front of us today.
Yes.
And even if it's somebody we don't like, we can find something about them to compliment them on, something of value. And if we just start to look for the good in everybody that is in front of us and acknowledge that, I believe slowly we can change everything around us.
Yeah, and when we believe in a different world or in the way we live on the world, a lot of people say they want to make the world better. No, the world is okay. Our behavior is not really optimal. And this is also, I should go first. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
If I dream about a different world, we treat each other different, I should be going there, not waiting that the other one goes first, because then
Exactly.
we're all waiting. And so it's not only seeing and giving the other, like they see the value or something good in it. There's, okay, I want to be the person who lives on it already in the future of
Right.
the next level of humanity or awareness or whatever. So that is very, very important.
Well, I think, and I really do think that makes a big difference. One of the things I say in the book, Wolfgang, I say it in the very beginning of the book, and I say it again at the end, is what would happen in our life if we were the best version of ourselves every single day.
Yes.
I'm not going to say tomorrow will be a better version than today, but if I'm the best version of me every day, what is going to happen in my world? I promise you that if you focus on that and you just be the best version of you, a week from now, you'll be different. A month from now, you'll be different. 6 months from now, you'll be living a different life. It will just create so much good in the world if we can stay focused on being the best version of us every single day. And it starts with us. Like you said, it starts with us.
Yes, and it starts with this question. Because the moment you ask a question, what can it be the best version I really want to be, or to live it up to my best version, what would be the alternative? Going in the week, oh no, this week no, that's wrong or a bad version. No, nobody really wants it. But we are often not thinking it and not aware of it. So it's also good to have someone who reminds you, ask this question and live up to it, because that's, at least it's my belief also, and I think it's, Bob for sure always, we are here to live. Mm-hmm. Live it really. Yeah, that's why we're here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Brian, to be seen, that was one of my notes that I really want to talk about, but I didn't expect that it goes so deep, me. And just, wow, it was again touching the way you said it. And like I said, also with listening to the audio is not only Bob, so it's really also your energy and transported. I'm so glad that you carry on the work from Bob. But I have another sentence here. I mentioned it already. How to make miracles happen. So what would you advise for everybody? Hey, you want a different life. And maybe feel I can't do it. I need to wait for the miracle. But how can we make the miracle happen?
Well, you know how we make the miracle happen? We just start right now by being the best version of us. My father, it's very well known that one of his mentors was Earl Nightingale. And Earl Nightingale, in his recording, The Strangest Secret, he said it's an age-old phrase that goes back for hundreds of years. And it's simply this: we become what we think about. And if we want that miracle to happen, we got to start thinking, what are we thinking about? What are we giving energy to? And if we can start focusing on the positive, no matter what's going on around us, if we can start focusing on what we truly want, how we want to live, how we want to be, how we want to show up in this world, the miracles will start happening. They really will, because we'll be of the right energy to attract that into our life. I look at in the first chapter of the book, there is something I shared in there, and there's a lot of people that are maybe listening to this that are having a tough time, and they're thinking, well, that's great. I become what I think about. Well, that works for you, but you have no idea what I've got going on in the world. Mm-hmm. Well, I challenge you to think that it makes no difference what your outside circumstance is. I look at my father. A week before he passed away, not even a week, just days before he passed away, we were in the hospital. And I can remember sitting by the bed there in the ICU, holding his hand, and he had nurses poking and prodding. He had all kinds of tubes coming out of him. He was not doing well. He was in a lot of pain. And there was a nurse that came in, and she had to put in another IV. And she is stabbing him with this needle, and she could not find a vein. Well, here's my father. You want to talk about outside circumstances not good. They were not good. Do you know what he did in that moment, Wolfgang? He put his hand on the nurse's hand. He looked her in the eye, and he said, "Don't worry, dear. You're doing a great job. I'll be fine. You just do whatever you need to do." In that instant, he put her at ease. He made her feel seen, feel special, and he made her feel valuable. In the next second, bang, she found the vein because she was able to relax in his presence. And I look at the way my father treated her in that moment when everything is not good. He's literally days away from dying, not in really bad shape. He did not let his outside circumstance dictate how he was going to treat those around him or how he was going to think. And there's a lot of power in that. The way we think and what we give energy to, that is what is going to bring our miracles. So be careful about what you think about.
Yeah. I experienced a lot of moments with him, not this kind of moments, where he was really lifting people up. But when you just said the inner values, there was another sentence in your book, listen to your inner voice and the answer will come. And I think this is when you said, the story with Bob now you shared is, it was his value already. Yeah. And so not disturbed by the outside, whatever happened there.
Right.
But making miracles happen, he said, okay, they will come. But how to really learn to listen to the inner voice and not be distracted from the outside noise?
That's, I love that question, because that is something that I guess the best way I can say, I have been living that way now, rock solid, since he passed away. In the hospital and right before he passed, he said to me, I can't even tell you how many times, he said, "Brian, keep talking to me. Keep talking to me even after I'm gone." Mm-hmm. And just listen for the answers. And we call that intuition, just that inner voice. And he says, follow your inner voice. Follow it. It will never lead you wrong if you listen to it. And I find that intuition, that gut feeling, that instinct, whatever you want to call it, I have been following it to a T now. And I will say I am living a miraculous life because of that. My life has changed dramatically since my father's passed. I've done several different things now, and I'm doing things I would have, quite frankly, never expected I would have ever be doing, Wolfgang. But I'm doing it because I'm listening to that inner voice and I'm following it. And here's what Dad had told me, and I think it's really important. If we follow our intuition, it's perfect. It will always guide us to the right place. The problem is when we hear that intuition, that inner knowing, we get those voices that'll start coming and attacking it. And, Dad liked to call those our paradigms, our reasons for not doing something. Mm-hmm. And he said to recognize that that's just your paradigms attacking it. But if you follow that first voice, that first message that comes in, it's perfect, and it will guide you into the right place. How often have we done something that we didn't feel was the right thing to do, but we did it anyway because those voices were telling us to, and it never turns out right. Mm-hmm. But if we had listened to our intuition, that quiet voice within, it always guides us to the right place. That's probably one of the last lessons that he really taught me. And I can clearly say that it's probably one of the most valuable things I've learned late in life that I wish I had listened to earlier in life, for sure. But hey, all we've got is now. So that's how I am living my life now. And I will say my life has been flowing really easy, really well, because I am following that inner voice, and I don't let the negative chatter that happens afterwards affect me.
Yeah, this is very interesting, and I can totally agree. And like also when you say inspiration is in spirit, so we're
Right.
connected. And there's a lot of discussion. What is intuition? Is this just out of collected data? Yeah, you get the information, or is it really coming from somewhere else? Let's say the soul is speaking, and this is the inner voice. And you said also this is it's a kind of very calm situation. It's not shouting really, but the others
Right.
are shouting.
Yeah.
What is your experience? I feel that a lot of people, we are trained to the outside. The teacher wants you have the right answer. In business, you need to do this in the company and everywhere. So we are really, trained to focus on the outside noise. The outside noise, we have a lot of shoulds and musts easily in our head, but then we should know already it's not for my soul. And then giving the advice, stop listening. I see a lot of people, and it's just before the terror barrier comes already. Oh shit, now it comes fear, just to let go of what I should do that moment. Just is how you teach or give it advice to do this step, let go, and then come first to yourself, that you can really experience the inner voice.
I think the key really, Wolfgang, is being at peace with who you are. We're all different. And like you said, winspiration, I love the meaning of that. And it's inspiration coming, from outside. I truly believe that if we get in touch with our intuition and let that spirit guide us, whatever you want to call it, and those attacking voices ignore and just follow what your heart tells you to do, you will always do the right thing. You really will. I think most of us don't allow ourselves to get calm enough to feel that,
yes,
or to even acknowledge it, or even listen to it.
Yes.
A practice that I've gotten into is to go to, I've got a couple of places in the house that I like to go to, that I will sit down, I'll close my eyes, I'll ask questions or whatever that may be, but I'll be in a relaxed state, and I will listen to what flows into my mind, what flows into me. And I'll just follow it. I'll do what my intuition tells me. We can call it spirit, we can call it instinct, we call it a gut reaction, whatever. There's so many different phrases, but I think if we're in a relaxed state, the right answer will be there. It really will. It's when we get into a crazy state, or we have all kinds of things hitting us from every which way, we don't hear it because there's too much noise outside. And if we can eliminate that noise and just become at peace for even 5 minutes, I'm not asking anybody to do this for an hour, but just 5 minutes, go into a peaceful state and listen to what that guiding voice, what that inner voice is telling you to do, and start following it. See what happens in your life. I really think you'll find that your life will improve, and it'll improve pretty quickly.
Yeah, that is really good, because the relaxed state is also really somehow get rid of tension. Okay, if I have too much stress on my shoulders, or muscles are tight, maybe they stay a little bit tight, but open up, let the cells open up, because that's the only thing we can do.
That's right.
Open. So then the first advice is just organize yourself the time. And if I understood you right, make sure that you have a place which you can, like in a safe place. Here, I always can relax.
Correct.
If it's in the house or wherever where you can go to, where you don't do the bookkeeping or whatever other stress, don't do
You
it
know,
at
it's
that place.
yeah, it's funny. I was on a call this morning, and my wife was on the call with me, and it was very interesting. She said, like, my wife knows obviously where these places are for me, and she knows when I'm going into that quiet place. And she says, I can see when Brian's there. He's in a very relaxed state. His eyes are closed. I can tell he's awake, and she will not interrupt me because she knows that is I never ask for a lot of time. It's like 5 minutes. That's where I'm in my peaceful state, that I'm just looking for guidance. I'm looking for that inner voice. And that's when we get in touch with that inner voice. If we've got a lot going on, or things are hectic, or the dog's barking and whatever, we're never going to get in touch in a deep way with that inner voice. So if we can give ourselves 5 minutes to go into that peaceful state, it'll show itself. It'll show itself. We might not always get the answer we want. That's the funny part. It might be something that we're not looking for. It might be a different answer than what we want. But I have discovered that if I follow whatever that is, I am always led on the right path. And it's been really that's been an exciting lesson for me to learn just over the last year and a half.
Yeah, it's just we're teaching also the kind of borrow a genius. That means you need to be relaxed, have a question, and then might it be Bob or someone else we believe has the answer, and just like symbolic stepping into the person, into the field. Ask for permission first, and then go into, and just don't think. You're not allowed to think. You're not allowed to judge. Whatever comes, yeah, and then be grateful then, whatever it is. And quite often you don't understand it. You don't.
Right.
Well, as Bob was teaching with the stick person as well, you need to choose what you want. It's not about the how. Huh? So
exactly,
just take the guidance, and that needs trust to your inner voice, and trust all.
Yeah, you know what? That's a great word. It does need trust. And I think that the thing to know is that inner voice isn't going to tell you how to do anything. It's just going to tell you where you should go. And then we've got to figure it out. We need to step into it. I see so many people that are wanting a better life. They're willing to think the better thoughts, but they're not willing to step out and take action. Yeah. And that's the thing that, Dad was really big on. He was always big about taking action. That if, I like to call it imperfect action, is that, sometimes it might not be the right action, but it's action. You're doing something to get yourself closer to your goal. And if you may not know how to get there, but boy, if you keep taking steps into it and you keep doing something to get yourself there, you will find the way, and you will get to your goal. You will get that, whatever it is that you're going after. But nothing happens without action. And I've seen people that come up with great ideas, and then they start planning, and they just plan and they plan and they plan. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen it too, and nothing ever happens. Whereas I've seen other people that they maybe plan a touch, but they step into it and they just start trying to figure it out as they get into it. They're the people that really get on in the world. They really are. I can remember clearly, it was a number of years ago, but I remember Dad talking about you, and you said Wolfgang is always stepping into things and taking action. And I think your whole inspiration was a part of that too. It was an idea you came up with, and then you just rolled with it. And he loved people that were willing to step into it and just start moving forward, even if they didn't know the way, because those are the people that are going to get on in the world.
Yeah. And if you just take the word, we have talked about, Bob, a lot of law of attraction, but in the word attraction, you find action. Yeah. So without action, no attraction. Yeah. Or
very true.
When we just had the kind of, we need to be good in ordering what we want from the universe, but we are not responsible for the delivery.
Right.
But the delivery people, say, if you're not really acting, they say, no, he doesn't really want it. So we don't deliver.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It is really.
How many people think they want something and they wish it, but then they think, oh, I'll never get that, or what is going on in your head? And it's really important. I've often said that would you be friends with somebody that spoke to you the way you speak to yourself? You want to think about that. What kind of words do you speak to yourself? Make sure they're good. Make sure they're valuable. Yeah.
You said wish, and you have also the expression of wishful thinking. Yeah? So that is
right.
More fantasy. Yogananda in his book has 5 levels of wishing, wanting, and in the lower level is a kind of wishing,
yeah,
like hoping, and the top is demanding.
Right.
So demanding from the universe, focus, yes, manifest it, but it's also the demand for myself. I need to be aligned in this energy to really wanting it. Also had Bob, discipline, give yourself a command and follow, and to be aligned, be it. Be, do, have. Yes, that's always be, do it, and you don't want to be planning. The planner.
I mean, I'm not saying that we don't need to plan for things at all, but yeah, I think the point is that some people that's all they do is plan. They never step out and start to take action. And sometimes imperfect action is the best kind of action, because it will open you up to the way that's supposed to be that you would have never found if you didn't step into it.
Yes, and you mentioned a couple of times in the book that Bob always said, stop overthinking. Yeah, so go into action, and that is what is really important. And I have a 7-step success program. It's just aligned to the stick person, and planning is 0.5. Or decision, goal setting, personal transformation, and from there the planning, because most people plan towards and fail because they do it out of the wrong frequency.
That's right.
Okay, now I want to come to what I said. What I would have picked as number 1, gratitude.
Yes.
Because everything is also, like we say, about frequency. And I learned so much from Bob about gratitude, giving, but also really being ready to receive. Love it. I know it's a big topic. We could have another hour on this, but we have some more minutes. So what is the most valuable ideas or with this concept of gratitude? What is important with it?
Yeah, I think, gratitude, and you're right, gratitude is one of those top lessons for sure that I don't think we give enough credit to. Dad was always one who lived from a place of gratitude, and he really taught me how to live that way. It was important that, he said we should always start our day off with gratitude. I have a gratitude journal that I write what I'm grateful for. And he said the magic in writing out what you're grateful for is it puts you in tune with all the good that is around you. And when you're in tune with the good that's around you, you will attract more of it into your life. So if you can start writing out what you're grateful for and give it energy that, boy, this is in my life. I'm so happy that this is in my life. It could be something simple as a cup of coffee. I mean, it makes no difference. You just need to start looking at what you're grateful for. Now, here's one of the cool things that I learned was I started writing in my gratitude journal some of the things I'm grateful for that I didn't even have in my life yet, but that I knew were coming my way. One of them was when I was writing the book. I wrote in the book that I'm grateful that it's a bestseller, that it is getting out in the world and people are learning the message that my father taught me. And that was something I wrote in my gratitude journal long before the book was even finished. So you're putting energy out there in a really positive way and focusing on the good that is around you. it's easy to focus on the crap, the bad stuff that's going on. I mean, all you got to do is turn on the television and, you're hit. It's tougher to focus on all the good stuff that's around us. And Dad was always of the opinion that if we focus on the good around us, we will attract more of that into our life.
Yes.
It's not to say that bad things won't happen. None of us are immune to adversity. However, our response to adversity is everything. And if we're focused on the good, more good will flow. And the bad that does happen, we won't give it as much energy.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot. And first of all, just with the attraction and the frequency, if you go in the wrong frequency and focus on what you don't like, that's not really helpful.
You're going to bring more of that to you. Yeah.
Get more of that. But you mentioned also the in tune. It's just in the frequency. You like be in the frequency what you really want, and it's so much easier with Bob's also with the goal cards when he says or for the goal setting. I'm so happy and grateful now. It forces you in the now to have this frequency. And normally everybody is trained to say thank you after you got something.
Mm-hmm.
The moment you go on the frequency of thank you, it's like, okay, it's already there. Yeah, I received it. I'm ready to receive. And
you're acknowledging the good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like we shared before, if more and more people would do that, we could go on or live on a different level.
Absolutely.
So it's one of the main growth principles for the humanity in progress is really be grateful. And what is the alternative to the good life or to life? So it's really about being grateful to be here, to be alive. It took me years to really be grateful and not just focusing on the misery. What is all there? Wow, it's my only chance maybe to experience me in this body, and wow, I should be grateful what I can experience here and that I'm there. And your father was the master, like you shared his last hour. So, what is that? Mm-hmm.
He really was, Wolfgang. He was the master at that. He always said to me, he says, be grateful for what you have. Just be grateful for it, and you will attract more of that into your life. Oftentimes I've seen people that are envious. Somebody else has got all these great things or doing great things. Well, it makes no difference where we are at life. We can find things that are good around us, and we look for that good. And if we can build upon that, we can achieve and do anything we want to do because we're focused on the good. If we're focused on the crap and the things that we don't have in our life, we're going to bring more of that into our life. Is that what you really want?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Yeah.
And realizing when I was, blaming or whatever others, I changed my inner chemistry, not for the good. Yeah. So like you say, the blaming is drinking the poison and hoping he gets it. It's not working. Yeah. So it's also just the best egoistic thing. Take care of your inner chemistry that you can, like we said before, open up, and then you can listen to your inner voice and enjoy life and really, really joyful, not just fun or on the surface, or really from deep in the joy of life. That is so wonderful.
And I really like how you said it, our inner chemistry. When you think about it, and it is this simple. When you're focused on the good around you and what you're grateful for, you feel at peace and you feel good. Yeah. When you're focused on the negative, or I don't have that, I wished I had that, or how come they got that, you create turmoil within your being, and it doesn't feel good. So, how do you want to live?
What feels really good, and it will feel longer good that we had time here together. See, 50 minutes are already over. We're coming to the end. Brian, it was wonderful talking with you. I feel more inspired, very grateful, and yeah, we'll focus more on make other people feel that I see them. And thank you. We will put your website and everything where you can reach here with the video, so I can really go and register for his emails, blogs, read the book. It's so much value in it. Thank
you
you
very much,
Brian, and
I appreciate your time.
thank you, listeners, and be inspired.